It's Mornings with Dave, Doreen, and Gino on Milwaukee's Hometown Rock.
All right, let me explain what happened. We're starting to talk to John Chianelli here. We do this phenomenal interview with John, and then it's over, and they go, Dave, we lost the signal to MCFI. What? You mean the interview we just did with John? Yeah, we didn't get that part. So, John, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you, Dave.
John Chianelli at MCFI, Milwaukee Center for Independence. John is the vice president of MCFI's Behavioral Health Division, and it's nationally known as a leader in the integrated community-based mental health care. I mean, it's not something that hey, let's point something out that no one knows about. No, I'm talking about a nationally known program. And John, you have over 1,000 employees here at MCFI, and I know that your department is responsible for so much in terms of behavioral health and so much that you've been dealing with in 2020. Explain what some of the folks that you see and deal with every day have had to undergo. What's their usual set of circumstances they're dealing with, and then what does COVID add on top of that?
Right. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. So, as you said, we serve lots of people with many special needs throughout our community. I'm responsible for our behavioral health division, so people are really struggling with, their emotions, struggling with illnesses, addiction, trauma, and I think, living life with, those challenges is challenging enough. You put on top of that our current pandemic, and it becomes even that more stressful to get by from day to day. I think COVID has really affected everyone's emotional health throughout our community, particularly around, fear, having fear about COVID, having fear that, then somehow undealt with deals with, turns into anxiety, which can turn into depression. So the emotional health of all of us is really critical right now, especially the people that we serve at MCFI.
You don't just deal with elderly, you deal with all age groups, right?
Right. Yeah. We serve, children all the way to adults who have, emotional challenges. And, it's really, again, very critical that during this time, people are talking about their feelings. We encourage our patients, we encourage all of you, quite frankly, all of our listeners today to really, talk about how you're feeling, know how you're feeling. And if you feel like you need to talk to someone, find someone to talk to. And then, if you find yourself being someone who's, a little bit more settled with the pandemic, or, it isn't affecting you as much, be a good listener. I would challenge us to all be good listeners.
Yeah. When people have mental health issues, why do you think there's a stigma attached to it? And what can we do as a civilization? I mean, seriously, as a society. And hey, I'm speaking from my perspective is I've seen therapists for a long time, and it took me a long time to just admit that I would go see a therapist because there's a stigma attached to it. It's like, oh man, there must be something wrong with that dude, but that's not the case at all.
Right. It's really making the shift of thinking that, there's, something wrong with you behaviorally if you have an emotional challenge in your life, to really understanding that this is a biological, neurobiological condition that you're facing. And, as we've had advancements in psychotropic medications, that should help amplify the fact that, this isn't just you. It isn't just what you're doing. It is part of your DNA, right? You really, were born that way. You had a predisposition to be someone who would struggle with your emotions.
And it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. We have no trouble asking for help if we have a cold. We should have no trouble asking for help if we have anxiety.
In terms of MCFI and how you guys become aware, how do you become aware of people who need help? Right.
So in two ways. I mean, one, we're known, right? So we kind of, tend to be a beacon for people who are challenged, with emotional help, and they come to us. They come to us through many people come to us through our crisis center. We operate a crisis center, one on the north side, one on the south side, and we're soon to open very shortly a third crisis center where people can just walk in. They can call us up if they're feeling challenged or having additional stress or become symptomatic, and they will get immediate help by a licensed professional counselor. So I think it's, and we strategically have built 3 crisis centers in geographically spread throughout Milwaukee,
Right.
so that we're bringing services to communities in need, versus people having to come to us.
And you've
for help.
shifted too for the pandemic, right, to being able to do things online if you can't make it to one of those.
That's right. That's absolutely right. We've, because of the pandemic, we've had to pivot very quickly to move our in-person practice to a telehealth, telepsychiatry practice. And, in some ways, while we needed to do that, in other ways, I think our customers are telling us that's a great way to get access to help when I need it, is to be able to do it online or virtually. We definitely, sadly, see an increase of the number of people seeking help from us during this time. And that's led us to do, 2 things. One, build another crisis center. But the other is we were a recipient of a federal grant, a Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration grant, that will allow us to expand services to 600 youth and adults who have serious mental illness in this community. That grant, we're one of 139 across the country, first one in Wisconsin, which we're very proud of.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
But you're
you.
going to need to fill that with caseworkers.
We are. And so I'm super proud of our frontline workers. They have been healthcare heroes during all the time, but particularly during this year. And so most definitely, we're looking to recruit residential care workers, licensed professional counselors, master's level clinicians, psychiatric nurse practitioners, as we begin to grow our crisis center and grow our grant. We need help.
Yeah.
We need professionals to help us.
And to that end, you can go to the website, mcfi.net, or, of course, we have it listed on our Facebook page. The link is right there. Final piece of advice for people out there, John, who obviously have been dealing with a challenging year.
Yeah, I think it's really important for all of us to remember to take a moment, kind of take that moment and ask ourselves, how are we feeling today? How are we feeling at this time? And really be able to identify that feeling. And, if it's anxiety, if it's sadness, the best thing we can do is to talk to other people, right? Be able to talk it through, because we know if, we don't resolve our anxiety and it goes on for a long time, it can turn into depression. It can turn into, having sort of a trauma response to what's going on in our world. So talk about it, talk about how you feel. And then for those of us that, maybe have our arms around, what's going on in the world a little bit better, be a listener, find someone to listen to, whether that's your neighbor.
Be a sympathetic ear.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
empathy.
yeah,
Right.
just empathetic. Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
empathetic, for
Right.
sure. Right.
Thank you very much for having us here. And I tell you that if you you don't have to try too hard to find help from MCFI. That's kind of what I learned today. You guys have, well, as we established, over 1,000 employees. You've got touch points throughout the whole community and so many different ways to help when people do need help. And
Yeah.
that's what you guys exist for.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of
You
this
should
agency.
be. You should be.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. We really appreciate you having us here. MCFI, Milwaukee Center for Independence. What you guys do is very special.